all you action figure enthusiasts out there. JC here with another edition of what I like to call T&I Toy Talk. Now, this isn't a standard toy review video, nor is it a standard news video that I often do. I was tempted to do just a news video today. We actually had a couple of things this week, at the end of this week, kind of break that I wanted to talk about. One I'm actually going to talk about in this video, and that's in regards to the Marvel Legend 2-pack, the Avengers Endgame 2-pack that I've previously talked about with the Hawkeye and the Black Widow figure. We've got a new image thanks to Commander LaForge, as well as some new details on that. So I will go over that since it's kind of related to today's subject. But the other thing I was tempted to share today, but I'm going to wait and talk more about on Monday, is that we got new official images just today of the Mafex Jim Lee style X-Men Cyclops figure, along with a look at all the accessories and everything. So again, I will talk about this on Monday. I'll do a news video on Monday where I'll talk about this, but if you want to go on and get the details, if you haven't seen it already, do head over to Marvelous News. We've got images and everything up there, and I'll put a link to that story. One other thing I wanted to share with you guys before I get into the heart of today's video is, you may have missed it, but the other day I posted a video saying thank you for getting me over that 50,000 subscriber mark. And the main thing, you may not care whether I got over 50,000 subscribers or not, but what you might care about is in that video, I announced a contest that I'm doing here on YouTube where I'm giving away $150 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store. So I'm guessing most of you could probably use free toys. I don't know. So if you haven't checked that video out, please do. I'll put a link to it. It's pretty easy to enter. You just subscribe to the channel, you like the video, and you make a comment on that video. So again, I will put a link to that, and hopefully you will check that out. Also, always, as far as free toys go, we also have the contest over on both the Marvelous News and Toy News International message boards, where we give away $100 store credits. Those are currently going on now for it's 2 different contests on each message board, and I'll put links to those as well. Okay, so for today's video, I got my hands on the new wave of Marvel Legend Avengers theme figures for 2019. This is the first Avengers theme wave from Hasbro in 2019, and of course this wave also includes our first Avengers Endgame movie figures, and that's probably what most people are excited about. And so I got my hands on this wave a little bit early. The official release date for this wave, along with all Avengers Endgame product, is March 31st. So that's when you'll officially start seeing it on store shelves. Many stores have these waves in already. They just have them in the back room, and they can't put them out on shelves or they're not supposed to put them out on shelves until March 31st. The same thing goes with that 2-pack, which I'll go on and lead into that. So the 2-pack I mentioned with the Hawkeye and the Clint Barton and the Black Widow figure, that is going to be a Target store exclusive, and that should be out around, basically at the point most stores I think already have it in their stock room, and so should be putting it out on the 31st. Again, that's the big release date for all Avengers Endgame product, so that's when you'll start seeing the Legos, the Funko Pops, all that stuff will be the 31st. So just less than 2 weeks away now, so you'll be able to get your hands on all this stuff. Now, this is the first wave of Avengers themed figures with the Avengers Endgame stuff, so I got my hands on these early. So instead of just doing a basic toy review on these, I thought, like I said, I would do a toy talk video, and so it's a little bit different, but you'll get a pretty good look at all the figures in this wave, and I'll share my thoughts on them, my general thoughts. It won't be quite as in-depth as a normal review, and if you do want a more in-depth review, check out Shartimus Prime's channel. We'll actually have these reviews up on Marvelous News as well, but he's should have up today an individual review of the Ronin figure, and then he'll be cranking out reviews of all the figures in this wave over the course of the next few days. But anyway, let's get into it. So the first figure we'll talk about is the one figure in this wave that does not have a Build-A-Figure piece. Actually, before I get into the individual figures, I should just go over basics. Packaging is the same as we see with all the figures, all the Marvel Legend figures. You've got the window boxes. They're clearly displayed. You've got, for the movie figures, you've got the movie logos. This wave has one Avengers Infinity War figure with the Ebony Maw figure, and then 2 basic Endgame figures. The Build-A-Figure, which is Thanos, is also Endgame related. And then the remaining 4 figures in the wave are all comic book based figures. So they have 3 of the four have had their own individual solo comic books in the past, so it looks like they've used the logos from those comics for the packaging on them. The bad guy, Living Laser, he's never had a solo comic, so he just gets a generic Marvel logo and a generic font for his name. Then on the sides, you've got the typical kind of artwork. The back, you've got looks at the characters, and then you have brief bios in multiple languages. So as I give you a look at each of the bios, you can pause the video and read it if you want, but I'll just recap the entire wave. So again, we've got from Avengers Infinity War, the Ebony Maw character, one of the Black Order members. Then we've got Captain America from Endgame with his quantum suit. Ronin is the second basic Endgame figure, Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. And then for comic book based figures, we've got the Nighthawk figure, the Citizen V, Hercules, which is probably actually the best made figure in this wave. And then finally, Living Laser, which again is kind of the bad guy for the wave. Okay, so now we've gone over packaging and everything, and I should note that we'll have a full gallery of images, so everything you see here plus more we'll have up on Marvelous News, and I'll put a link to that in the video description, and I do recommend that you go check that out after you watch this video, or if you're watching it on the site, then you can just kind of scroll down and see the images there. But anyway, so getting back to the first figure, so this is the one figure in the wave, the Captain America figure that does not have a Build-A-Figure piece. And that's probably because this also is kind of an army builder figure in a way. So meaning you might be buying multiples of these, which if you want to basically round out your entire team, Avengers team from Endgame with these quantum suits, then you are going to probably want to buy this figure twice, and then the Target 2-pack with the Hawkeye and the Black Widow figure, you're going to probably want to buy that twice. And the reason why you want to buy the 2-pack twice is because that's the only way that at least we know of right now that you can get the female body with these suits on. It comes with the Black Widow and then has an alternate head for Nebula. So again, if you want to have both a Nebula and a Black Widow, you'll have to buy that 2-pack twice. But with the Cap figure, so Cap, he is wearing his mask. Now in the trailer, we don't see him wearing a mask. That doesn't mean at some point he doesn't put his mask on. We still don't really know what the purpose of these suits are, whether it's time travel, just going out in space. We don't really know. But he does have his mask, and it looks pretty much like previous masks. The face does, is kind of generic, more generic looking on this one. It's not as good as like the mask face that we got with the MCU 2-pack. The wings are painted on there. The A is painted on there with a metallic silver. So the rest of the figure, and again, I think, like the Hawkeye figure, this is going to be the same body as the Hawkeye figure in that 2-pack. But you've got the black, the red, and then you've got the metallic silver. So that's one thing that I've seen a lot of you guys pointing out online in comments and stuff, that you notice in the trailer when we first see these suits, they're white, whereas on these figures, they're metallic silver. They look like they're metal. And I'm guessing that is because Hasbro probably based these on the promo art as opposed to the actual final suits. If you go back and you look at some of the promo art that we've seen leak out online, you definitely can tell there's some metallic color. It's a light metallic color, maybe even a mixture of white and metallic color, but you can definitely see there's metallic color there. So I'm guessing that's what Hasbro based these figures on. In order for Hasbro to have these figures out at the time of the movie's release, they really have to start making these well in advance, and so they don't get to see the final product oftentimes. They just have to go by concept art that's provided to them by the studio, which can often change as they go along. We saw that happen last year with the Infinity War figures. The reason why the Spider-Man didn't have the mechanical arms and the Iron Man didn't have all the weapons and stuff is because the material they were provided with to make those figures originally did not incorporate that stuff. So that's one of the drawbacks when you're trying to get movie figures out at the same time as the movie. That's why the later stuff generally looks more accurate and everything. And I think that's what's happened here. So now, is that important enough to me? I mean, if Hasbro goes back later on and releases these figures again with white suits, I seriously doubt I'm going to go and buy them. I'm not even sure if it's worth it to me to round out the entire team. I just don't know. I don't know how important these suits are really going to be. Do they wear it for 5 minutes in the movie to go someplace and then they change into their regular outfits, or is it going to be something that actually plays a significant role? Okay, so getting back to the figure. So overall, this is a new sculpt. You've got some pretty nice detailing. I'm assuming, we haven't gotten that good a look at the outfits in the movie. And again, there's probably has been changes since this is probably based on concept art. But you've got almost looks like he's wearing some kind of backpack. And he's got this thing on his wrist, which I don't know if that has any significance. I've seen some leak stuff that maybe indicates it is, but since that could be spoilers, I'm not going to really talk about that. And then you've got, again, the red and black and the metallic colors. And he's got one open hand. The right hand is open, and he has one closed fist. The only accessory that he comes with is his shield, which I had here just a moment ago. Here it is. So his shield, this looks pretty much like previous movie Captain America shields that we've gotten. You've got that kind of metallic red and the silver and the blue. You've got the star with the little lines sculpted in there. And then on the back, you've just got the metallic silver, and you've got the straps, which look like, leather, but they're really just rubber. One's bigger, one's smaller. The downside to this is there's no peg or anything, so you can't put it on his back or anything, though. With the suit, I doubt he wears the shield on his back at any point. Maybe he does, I don't know. But with these movie shields, you can't add these to the back, which I always dislike. But anyway, one thing to note about the shield is there's this little extra silver ring around the blue portion that was not featured. That wasn't in the movies, at least the previous movies. I haven't really gotten a good look at his shield for this movie, so I don't know if that's something they added. Obviously, the shield would have had to have been repainted at some point between the events of Civil War and this movie. So maybe it's something they added. Maybe it's just something Hasbro added. I don't know, but I just wanted to note that little extra silver ring around the blue portion there. And you can put it on either arm, really, but it's really probably best to do it on the right with the open hand, and then you can just kind of stick his hand in there for him to hold it. Okay, now the big question that a lot of you have is, can you put alternate heads on, what alternate heads work on this figure? So if you don't want to buy the 2-pack, but you already have some of these alternate unmasked heads that Hasbro's released, one being Chris Evans, you may want to put a Chris Evans head on here, since in the trailer he's not wearing his mask. This is the one from the MCU set that with the Crossbones figure. And there's been some confusion on this, but this will fit on this figure. It's a little bit tight, so the first time you try and do it, you may need to take a hairdryer and heat up the plastic on the ball joint there. It is maybe just a hair bigger than the hole on this Chris Evans head, but again, if you take a hairdryer and you loosen up the plastic a little bit and just blow some hot air in there and blow some hot air on this ball joint, then you can make it work. You do have to kind of push a little bit, but again, it does actually fit on there. There you go. Once you do it the first time, you really shouldn't have to pull out the hairdryer every time you want to put the head on. But again, it is a little bit tight, so you do have to really kind of push. But it does work. It does look pretty good. And to me, this is probably a more movie accurate representation, because I doubt, they hardly wear their masks even when they have their regular outfits on. So I really doubt he's going to be wearing his mask much when he has this quantum suit on, unless they wear these suits a lot longer than I'm anticipating. There you go. And then other heads that they've released. This is the Tony Stark, one of the Tony Stark heads that they've done previously. This one is probably the one that fits the least, because it does actually fit a little bit loose. It does go on there, but you can see it definitely sits on there a little bit loose. So you can make it work, but that's probably the one that fits the least on there. We've got Scott Lang's head, the unmasked head that they've released for Scott Lang. So we saw Ant-Man walking around with one of these suits on. So the 2-pack comes with a helmeted head. And of course, if you have the helmeted head from the Ant-Man figure, you can put it on here as well. You don't really need the 2-pack to you could just buy these Captain America, multiples of this Captain America figure, if you have these unmasked heads, and do it yourself. The real reason for getting the 2-pack is so for the female bodies. And then one more here. I've taken pictures of a bunch, but this one, because somebody asked, can you stick the Matt Murdock head, the Netflix Matt Murdock head on this figure? And the answer is yes. So if you want to incorporate Daredevil from the Netflix series, the now canceled Netflix series, into the MCU with your action figures, you can do that. And it does fit on there quite well. Next up, we've got Ronin, a.k.a. Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye. So this is a pretty nice figure. I like the look of it and everything. My only real complaint with this figure is, at least with mine, it does suffer from what I call gummy joint syndrome. The joints are very a soft rubber type material, so it gives a lot of give when you start bending the knees and stuff. Could even lead to breakage, so I would be careful when you're posing this guy, and even can make it a little difficult to get him standing and stuff, and especially when you start posing him and bending his knees and stuff. So that's really my biggest complaint with this figure, is it definitely suffers from that soft joint, rubber type joints, and so just be careful of that. But otherwise, I think this is a good looking figure. It has this hood, which is actually removable. It's a separate piece, and basically it just sits on the figure's head, so you do have to kind of play with it to get it to look right, and if you really start to move the figure around, then it can move on you, so just be wary of that. But I am glad they made the hood removable. It does not come with an unmasked head. If you want an accurate looking Clint Barton unmasked head, then you're going to have to get the Target 2-pack. If you want to use the Clint Barton head from the previous Hawkeye movie figure, it will fit on this figure. He has a little bit different hairstyle in this movie, but if you don't care that much, you can use that unmasked head sculpt. But as it is, this particular figure does not come with an unmasked head. He does have two swords, so when he's Ronin, he uses swords as opposed to a bow. We see him in the trailer using his bow and stuff, so at some point he does go back to the bow, and of course you can use the bow from the previous Hawkeye figure with this one if you want to. You can even kind of make the quiver work from that previous figure. It just plugs in, and it plugs into the back of a hole. This figure does not have a hole on its back, but you can if you've got this quiver, this is removable. And actually you can unclip it, so that's kind of interesting, and take it off, or you can just kind of do it over his head, however you want. But it is removable. This jacket is removable as well. It just unhooks here on the side. Now you do have to take the head off if you want to take the jacket off, and then you actually have to push down the ball a little bit so you can get the jacket over the neck there. But it is removable, and there's some detail on the figure underneath there. And if you want better articulation, then you're going to have to take the jacket off, because it does limit some of the midsection articulation when you have the jacket on. It's made with a vinyl type material and everything, so looks good. Fits well on the figure, but again, it does limit some of the articulation there at the midsection. Now the figure is basically just a black color with this gold. There's no green. In the comics, the Ronin character has a lot of green. I'm actually glad that they kind of passed on the green. I didn't really like that about the character. I like the way it looks with the black and the gold. You only see his eyes on the masked head, but you can actually make out some traits of the Hawkeye character, so definitely, it's not a bad looking head sculpt. And so overall it's a solid figure. The one other accessory that he comes with is this hand, this alternate hand. It's an alternate left hand, and it's basically it's got some throwing stars. So we've seen this gimmick before with figures like the Bullseye and stuff. So you can put that on there and make it look like he's throwing some throwing stars. But otherwise, other than the Build-A-Figure piece, those are the only accessories this figure comes with. But I do think it's a solid figure, and I'm pretty sure the unmasked head from the Target 2-pack will end up fitting on this as well. So if you do want to use that, I think it'll probably work. Okay, and then while we're on the subject of movie figures, we'll next go to the Ebony Maw figure. So we've got Ebony Maw coming in this wave, and then the final Black Order member from Infinity War, the Corvus Glaive, that'll be released as a Target 2-pack. Walmart actually had that up for pre-order the other day. I was able to snag one. The release date on that 2-pack, again, is going to be the end of this month. So that's when you should start seeing it on shelves. And when Walmart, if you're able to snag a pre-order, that's when Walmart will start shipping them out. And I should have mine that first week of April. So I plan on doing a review of all the Black Order members and everything. That, again, is the one with the 2-pack of Loki and the Corvus Glaive. But this figure, Ebony Maw, I think it looks good. I like this head sculpt, and he's even got some hair here on the back they've sculpted on there. It's almost the same color as his head, so it's hard to make out, and it's pretty short hair, but they actually did include the hair there, so I do like that. And I think it looks pretty movie accurate. He's a very tall figure. He's very lanky and tall. A new sculpt. This lower piece of his coat is a soft goods. He's got the rings on his hands, and they sculpted the one hand so you can kind of do almost like that shh gesture like you see him do in the movie. So I like that. And so overall, you know, if you've been wanting to get your Black Order rounded out, this is definitely one worth picking up, and looks good with the other Black Order members, as well as both the new Thanos figure and last year's Thanos figure. I think it looks pretty good scale-wise and everything with all those. Okay, now I'll come back to the Build-A-Figure, the Thanos figure, which is the last movie figure in this wave, after we go over the remaining 4 figures. So that brings us to Hercules here, and as I said before, this is probably the best made, best looking overall figure in the wave. I think Hasbro did a fantastic job with this figure. I love this head sculpt. I think they did an awesome job. He's got the really blue eyes and the hair. I like the way they sculpted the hair with this headpiece, and he's got the full-on beard and mustache. So that all looks good. And you can kind of do the side pieces back a little bit if you want to. And you've even got the beard that goes up there. So I like that. He's sporting the man bun there. So I guess that's what he has in the comics these days. And then he comes with 2 weapon accessories. He comes with a sword and this mace. And you can attach them to the back there. They just slide into these little loops. The one for the mace is circular. And this one's a little bit tight to get it around the end of this handle, which gets kind of thick there. And then the sword, it goes into the little hole that's more of a slit than a hole. You can see one's a hole and one's a slit. So, and the weapons do fit in there well. You want to make sure when you put the mace in that you put it handle up. You know, he wouldn't be able to grab it out there if the mace portion was upside. So, and then this harness piece is actually removable. You can unhook the belt and take it off, so you can have him go shirtless. I like the detail with the hair. You know, a lot of times with these figures that don't have shirts on and stuff, they don't do a very good job with the hair. But this one they did. You can definitely make out the hair, and it looks fairly real. So I think they did a really good job with that. I like this belt buckle with the metallic gold. I'm not entirely sure what's on this buckle. I'm used to the big H for his belt buckle, but this almost looks like it's a snake head or something. I'm assuming that's something from the comics, but I don't recognize it, so I'm not entirely sure. He's got these wrist bracelets, which do look kind of come off looking plastic. I wish they had used the same kind of metallic paint on these wrist bracelets as they did the belt buckle. I think it would have looked better. That's probably the only minor fault that I have with the figure, is those definitely look more plastic than metal. And then he's wearing full-on pants with the darker brown and the lighter brown. He's got the knee pads with the gray, and then he's got the boots with the brown and the gray. So again, this is a very nice looking figure. He's not as tall as like Thor and Hulk, but I don't think he really should be. You know, he's bigger than your average human, but he's not like humongous big generally, at least. I mean, he differs from whoever's drawing him, but generally I don't consider him to be humongous. So I actually think the scale in this figure is pretty good. Next up, we've got Citizen V, which I think is a cool figure. I love the original Thunderbolts. I thought it was a great concept, bad guys impersonating heroes. And, you know, Citizen V, if you don't know, was the original leader of the Thunderbolts. Later, others like Hawkeye and Luke Cage took over the teams. But he was the original founder of the Thunderbolts. And, of course, he's actually Baron Zemo in disguise. Not Citizen V, but so, you know, it does size up well with the Baron Zemo figure they did previously, so about the same height, which makes sense because this is, you know, I thought we'd seen the last of this mold, but Hasbro managed to find another, actually 2 in this wave, to pull out that Bucky Cap mold again. So that's what this figure is incorporating, the Bucky Cap mold. He's got this cape, which I think actually is really cool. It does limit some of the arm movement with these shoulder pads, but I think it looks good. And, you know, basically it's made to look like the American flag. You've got the stars with the metallic blue, and then you've got the red and white stripes on this side. And it is removable. You can just unplug it. And so, and again, you know, he's got the hole in the back. And again, this is the Bucky Cap mold. This belt is obviously a different piece. He does not have a sheath for his sword, which is the accessory that he comes with, his sword. And there's really no paint detail on this. It's just done with a white plastic. So I could have used a little extra paint detail on this. And then you've got this loop on his belt. It's not a sheath, but if you want to stick the sword in there, it does stay in there pretty good. So that's the best way to store the sword when he's not holding it. And he can only hold it in his right hand because the left left hand is a closed fist, and he's got the gloves with the blue fingers, so that looks pretty good. And then with the mask, you know, he's just got this white faceless thing with the eye indents and stuff. So that's comic book accurate. It's done with a pretty hard plastic. You know, don't catch these little tips on anything because you could snap those off. It's not rubber, but it looks good. And, you know, even though it is the Bucky cap mold, I think it works decently with this character. So no huge complaint there. And the only other original Thunderbolt figure I have currently is the Songbird figure. So here's a comparison, and they scale up pretty good. I don't have the Moonstone figure that they released as a San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know if I'm going to try and track that one down or just hope that Hasbro re-releases the character. Though I'm guessing if they re-release it, it probably won't look as good as that San Diego Comic-Con one, just because they'll use a different body type. Okay, and then our final two figures are Living Laser and Nighthawk. So this is probably my least favorite, the Nighthawk figure, just because I've never been a huge fan of this character. This figure also incorporates the Bucky cap mold, so you know, there you go, two times in this wave. And he's got these added claws on his hands, which are done with a rubber material, and they're painted with a metallic yellow. So those look pretty good, and they're short, so they're not like Wolverine. And they're pretty straight. They came out of the packaging pretty straight. I like this cape. I do like this cape. I like the way it hangs on the figure and everything. I think they should do something, you know, with a Strife. You know, this would make a good cape for Strife too. But I think it works well. You know, it has those big shoulders and everything comes up. So, and it plugs in the back. It is removable. If you want to pop the head off, you can take this off. But that's probably the best thing about the cape is, or about the figure, I think, is the cape. I think it looks good and everything. It doesn't really come with any accessories other than the Thanos Build-A-Figure piece. So, you know, what you see here is what you get. And paint apps are pretty basic. I do have a little bit of fading on the yellow, but nothing major. You often see that with yellow on these Marvel Legends where you get some fading, but it's not anything major. And, you know, the face sculpt looks pretty good. Looks like the character. I'm not a huge fan of this character, so that's why this is probably my least favorite figure in the line. Okay, and then the final figure, regular figure, is Living Laser, and this is not a reuse of the Bucky cap mold. However, it is a reuse of the mold from the Spider-Man 2099, the modern Spider-Man 2099, including even these little fins on his arms. I don't think that's really accurate. I think this is supposed to be like little lightning or lasers or something, but I don't think the actual comic has that. I could be wrong, but I don't think. I think they just incorporated that from the Spider-Man figure. And these are just a rubber material like with the Spider-Man. The head is different, but everything else about this figure is the same as that Spider-Man 2099 figure. Same feet, same hands, closed fists. He does come with the lightning effect pieces like we've seen many times before. These are done with white, and you just kind of slide it on the hand there. So the head looks good overall. I would have rather they did more of a classic look for Living Laser than this more modern look. But, you know, I do like the translucent plastic. You know, I think that looks good. And you've got the white here, the faded white up here on his chest and on the shoulders and everything. So I like the way the figure looks. As far as just the actual character itself, I always like the more classic look of the character than this modern look. And then he's got this metallic purple on the front faceplate here. And you got some sculpting detail. You know, again, I think they did a pretty good job. You know, again, primarily just a reuse of the Spider-Man 2099. I don't know how many of you are really that excited for Living Laser, but, you know, if you do like the character, especially the modern version, I think it's kind of a cool figure. Okay, and then last but not least, we have the Thanos Build-A-Figure. So this is technically Thanos from Endgame, though you could probably consider this Infinity War as well, since he did wear this armor. He, however, in Infinity War, when he had the armor on, didn't have all the Infinity Gems. This figure does have the gauntlet with all the gems still intact. And he's also got this strange bladed weapon that we never saw in Infinity War. I don't know if this is a signature weapon that he uses that he decided he needed to use in this movie, or if this is just something he picks up during the movie during one of the fight scenes or something. I'm not even sure if it's technically a weapon, but it looks like it's supposed to be something that you kind of spin around like a propeller, and these do kind of look like they're supposed to be blades. It look like this is supposed to be sharp here and sharp here. You've got some sculpting detail with some line work, but otherwise it's just a basic kind of gray plastic, so not a whole lot of detail. But I am sure that is something we'll see in the movie. How much, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's actual signature weapon or just something he picks up. Now for the figure with the face, you know, he is wearing the helmet with this one. He's gritting his teeth. He looks much more angry than like the Infinity War Thanos. And almost, you know, when you look at the figure head on, it doesn't look bad when you're looking at it from the side, but when you're looking at head on, it almost looks like he's kind of constipated. So I think maybe they overdid it a little bit with the grin or the gritting teeth. I think maybe just a normal expression would have been better, but I don't know. It is better than the kind of smile they gave him with the original Infinity War Thanos figure. But like I said, when you look at it straight on, it almost looks like maybe he's constipated or something. And then for the rest of the figure, again, the gauntlet is pretty much the same. It looks the same kind of sculpting detail and everything. The gems look the same. They're painted. They're not like translucent plastic or anything. And it looks the same as the Infinity War Thanos figure. You've got this lower piece here on his shirt is a soft rubber material. And then, you've just got this metallic gold with some darker colors mixed in throughout, which look pretty good. You got some nice sculpting detail on the back of the figure. So overall, scale-wise, it matches up with the previous Infinity War Thanos. The skin tone on the purple is a little bit different shade than the Infinity War Thanos, so you can use, if you want to use the unmasked head from that figure, you can use it on this one. But again, the skin tone is not the exact match. And then also other things to note, he is taller than the comic book Thanos Build-A-Figure that Hasbro did. And if you want to have him go up against a Hulk figure, the best one I would say to use is the Thor Ragnarok, even though he does have some of those armor pieces and some paint on his face, being in the gladiator mode and stuff. I do hope that Hasbro ends up giving us an updated Hulk figure because we could definitely use that. But overall, scale-wise seems to be pretty good with this figure. And if you like the scale on the Infinity War version, then you'll like the scale on this one as well. So I think the coolest thing is he is finally wearing the armor. I think this is the version everybody wanted last year when we got the non-armored version. So I think people will be happy in regards to that. It's not a perfect figure, but it's not a bad figure either. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything I talked about here. What are you excited for in this wave? What are you least excited for? I definitely think the Hercules figure is the best figure in the wave. And, it's the best well-made figure. It looks the best overall. I'm not a super Hercules fan, but, quality-wise and everything, I think this is the winner of the wave. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which figures are you looking most forward to? Are you going to get multiples of those quantum suit figures so you can round out the entire team? Do you care about having the entire team in the quantum suits? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. Be sure to check out my 50th subscriber thank you video so you can get in on the contest there to win $150 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store. And you can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later.